6 technical details you didn't know about GTA San Andreas. Let's take a look. One of my favourite little technical details that I've never seen anyone else mention is about the sunrise you see at the start of a new game. It's a pretty iconic scene, but did you know this is the only time you actually see this specific sunrise in Los Santos? When you first start a new game in San Andreas, the game's script forces the weather type to become sunny countryside, a weather type that during normal gameplay is only seen when the player is in the countryside. So this specific sunrise is something you only see in the countryside after this. I decided to compare the Los Santos weather types at the same time, to see how their sunrises look in comparison to this. And they're not as close as the sunny countryside weather type, which generally has a more orange tone on the bottom of the sky. So yeah, this sunrise is unique, and you'll never see it in Los Santos aside from starting a new game during normal gameplay. Pretty interesting. San Andreas had a very detailed map compared to Liberty City and Vice City, and one of these improved details included all of these roadway signs around the map, which give directions on all of the major routes in San Andreas. But did you know the text on these signs isn't actually a part of the sign itself? So a lot of the models for these road signs are reused across the map, such as this model, this model, this model, and this model. But in San Andreas, a model can only have one set of textures. Obviously, these signs all have different text on them, so you can't make the text a part of the texture. You could duplicate the model and texture and then just change the text for the texture of each model, but that's not very efficient on space and memory. So instead, Rockstar added a new feature to the 2DFX system in San Andreas, which allowed them to create and render text in-game through 2DFX data by using letters and symbols from this single font texture. 2DFX data is stored in models, so underneath every road sign there's obviously a road, and that road model is unique to that specific location. They would then add the 2DFX data to the road model and offset its location so it would be placed in front of the road sign. You can actually see the text floating slightly in front of the road signs themselves, as placing it directly onto the road sign would likely cause clipping. This method for road signs was very efficient and allowed them to reuse road sign models and textures without needing to duplicate every single one around the map. Did you know vehicles in San Andreas on PC have a hard-coded artificial light source on them at all times? So this is interesting. San Andreas has a time cycle file which controls how each weather type in the game will look. This includes object colors, sky colors, and so on. One of the values in the time cycle file is the illumination value. This enables a light source on characters and vehicles to brighten them up a bit and make them more distinctive in comparison to map objects. On PS2, this value was 1 for every weather type, so you'd always have this light source on character models and vehicle models. However, in the PC time cycle, this value is completely missing. The illumination function is still there though, and adding the value to the time cycle will still work on PC. The thing is, someone at Rockstar clearly noticed vehicles on PC were darker than they were on the PS2 version of the game, but instead of fixing the missing illumination values, they instead added a hard-coded artificial light source on all vehicles instead. Although this artificial light didn't affect vehicle wheels, whereas illumination on PS2 did. This hard-coded light was only for vehicles. Character models on PC would still remain darker than they did on PS2. When modders noticed the illumination value was actually missing on PC, they also noticed restoring it would actually cause vehicles to look brighter than they did on PS2, because now we were stacking the PC hard-coded artificial light that's already on vehicles on top of the light from the illumination value. It's now recommended to remove the hard-coded light with mods like SkyGFX and use a PS2 time cycle to have the best experience. I cover exactly what you need to do in my SkyGFX guide. Because San Andreas released on the PS2 and the game was played exclusively from a DVD, the developers had to optimize the game as much as they could so the player wouldn't run into issues, especially with the world streaming system. One of the ways they did this was by adding what they called extra air resistance to specific areas of the map. These areas had zones with extra air resistance, which meant that the player couldn't reach top speed when in a vehicle. So for example, the Cheetah can reach a top speed of 197 km per hour, but when you're in a location with extra air resistance, the Cheetah can only reach a top speed of 161 km per hour. As soon as you're out of the area with extra air resistance, you'll start to reach the real top speed of 197 km per hour again. Slowing the player down gave the hardware more time to load assets from the DVD, reducing streaming issues. These locations with extra air resistance were typically placed in the 3 cities and on long stretches of road where streaming issues are most likely to occur. I have a full video on this topic if you're interested in checking it out. Similar to the speed limits, Rockstar also set up zones in the map which had a flag to make them rain-free zones. This is done so rain effects don't appear when the player is in places like tunnels or under bridges. Some areas are missed, but for the most part they covered a good majority of the map. What I've always found interesting about these, however, is that the flag for these zones is also the same flag which tells the game it's a police helicopter free zone. So any area that you enter which has the flag to disable rain effects will also cause police helicopters to instantly fly away and despawn, and they'll respawn once the player leaves the rain-free zone. This means you can literally lose police helicopters just by driving under a bridge. They'll despawn even if you don't stop underneath the bridge. They possibly just shared these functions between the same flag because realistically, most places where you need to disable rain, such as tunnels, are also places police helicopters can't get to. But it can look pretty silly when going under bridges. And lastly, at nighttime, you'll often see these lit up windows around buildings in San Andreas. But did you know these lit up windows are actually a completely separate model from the building itself? These models are placed over the building and then in an item definition file, they're set to only spawn in at night. This was likely because they could only get the desired effect of bright windows at night by using a new texture, which would require a new model like I said before. There's a few objects like this in San Andreas, including some of the neon in Las Venturas, which I covered in my previous 6 details you didn't know about San Andreas video. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like as it really helps. If you enjoy GTA videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.